What's up, everybody? I'm Indy. That guy way over there, that's Jay. And in the middle, we got Phillip Johnson, and he's talking about stuff. We're going to talk about his experience with releasing a game on a shoestring budget. Well, that's one of the things, but yeah,
we got lots of things.
Lots of all the things.
Philip's one of those guys that has been around for a while, and he's done the AAA things and he's done the indie things. So, you know, it's a wonderful mix of experience. So let's just start there, Philip. Tell us how you got into the industry, and then, you know, walk us through your career in terms of projects that you've worked on and all that kind of good stuff.
So let's get started. So I guess you know, I always messed around with computers when I was a kid, and I went to a vocational program for computers. So in the morning we would take a bus to this like vocational school. I would take some computer classes there, and then in the afternoon we'd come back to my regular school. And then after that, went to college for computer science, or I tried to. I didn't have very good math scores. So I was just undeclared at Westchester University up in Pennsylvania, and they wouldn't let me into the computer science program, so I left. I was like, you know, I've been programming, you know, websites and games and stuff, so it's like I obviously know how to do some of this stuff. And I went to Millersville, which is a way nicer school anyway, about an hour away near Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Took computer science classes there, and I guess kind of in the middle of that, realizing that I didn't really quite like computer science by itself, and started kind of taking more philosophy classes to the point where I ended up getting a second major in philosophy. But then also kind of realizing that, like, well, I don't have to doom myself to making bank software. I could probably be making games. And I just started talking with my professor there, and I said, hey, like, I'm really bored by the classes here. Can I start doing some independent research? And he was like, yeah, sure. What do you want to do? And so I made like a big music geek. So we made like a synthesizer as one of the projects, and then we did another one where we were trying to integrate. I guess it was pretty new at the time, a geophysics card. For a brief period of time, they were having physics-specific cards for your computer. So we were there working with that stuff, and I ended up getting hired for a game company right out of college because I, you know, living in Lancaster near Philadelphia, so you know, I'm trying to get into the industry, and then I start trying to find the meetup groups, and I learned about the IGDA, International Game Developers Association. And so I go to a chapter in Philadelphia, and I show up, and there's literally like 5 people there. And one of the people was just this guy who's a producer for a game company, like a serious games company. And so, you know, I give this guy my resume, and before you know it, they have me drive in for an interview. And then, you know, I got to work on some serious games projects, which I'm really sure if I can talk about it or not. They're just like projects for the military. They're like kind of like,
yeah, it's probably best that you don't, just to be safe.
But there was, you know, like it's like much is the case for a lot of government contracts, are just kind of like projects that didn't really go anywhere. After about a year, that company shut down its games division, and you know, one of my colleagues there ended up getting a job at Red Storm in Cary, North Carolina, or I guess it'd be Morrisville. And so he helped me get a job there as a UI engineer, and that's where I met Randy. After about a year or so being a UI engineer there, I got to go work with the creative direction team on a project that never got released, but it was very exciting. They saw that I had an aptitude for kind of coming up with new weird ideas and stuff. And while working there, I got to ship Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and then Rocksmith 2014, and then let's see, Far Cry 4, and then I lost my job. It was kind of like I guess that was like 5 or 6 years after I had started there, and I started having some health problems. and was making it difficult to do my work. And one thing led to another, and I was just kind of unemployed. And that's when I made Battle Sloths. It was right around about that time, because it was more for me as just to prove that I could make games and that I belong in this industry and stuff. But I wasn't planning on trying to apply for another studio gig. I was going to, just go work for, work on a website or go do all maybe the boring programming work I was trying to avoid this whole time. So, while working on Battle Sloths, I was kind of like living in my friend's farmhouse, and pretty much every day I would do yoga. I would go running. I would go get a bunch of physical therapy and getting a bunch of these health issues sorted out. And Battle Sloths is this thing where it was kind of like, well, I think this game is fun, so I'm going to put this game out on Steam. And if it's successful, then good. If not, then whatever. I mean, I was kind of ready to close the book on my game dev career at that point. I kind of rekindled my friendship with Randy a bit, and he was like, "What you got there?" And I was kind of had this thing on a USB key, and I was like, "Oh, it's Battle Sloths. It's this thing I've been working on." We plug it in. He's like, "This is really fun. We should try and do something with it." And he was aware of, I guess, something that Humble Bundle was doing to they're kind of like funding these small indie projects, and it was called Humble Originals, and we ended up being the second one. So the first one was a game called Elephant in the Room, which actually has some of the same developers as Battle Sloths, ironically. It's some of the Mighty Rabbit crew working on that one.
Wait, Mighty Rabbit's over in Raleigh too, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in Cary, I think.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of friends there, so they made the first game, and then we put Battle Sloths out as a Humble Original, and we also were making these trailers for it. I guess if we're going to talk about marketing, this is kind of the part where that story starts to happen.
So, all right, but then you've also worked on console versions of things like Doom and Wolfenstein, and one of my favorite games of the last couple of years, Subnautica.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, how has it been different working on, the bigger AAA projects like that versus, your indie project? And how many people did you have on Battle Sloths? Was it just you, or were there other folks around as well?
So working on the big AAA projects, it depends. Like it's a lot easier because you just take orders from someone and then you just go do it.
And you get a paycheck, right?
I didn't really care for it at Ubisoft because, it just didn't seem like it mattered if my ideas were good or not. When you're in a place that big, that can be kind of a little frustrating. I've always wanted to kind of be a director, and so I just gave myself that job when we did Battle Sloths. So having the ability to lead a team, and then also help with the design and help with the vision, and then I'm also the lead programmer on this thing. I learned a lot about leadership in the process, and when we were at our largest, we were probably 12, 13 people, and now we're 3. So
I would like to see a Battle Sloths cartoon on Adult Swim. That's what I want to see.
I would too. Let's make that happen, please. I got tons of ideas for what that would be like.
Do you have an extended comic, or are they just cutscenes from the game?
Rooster Teeth, they made a really cool animated trailer for us, but that's about it. We'd like to do I guess as far as being a creative director goes, I always want to really get into the world and and see what sort of stories could be told here. I'm a huge fan of shows like Star Wars Rebels and stuff like that too. So I'd like to see something that's a bit more like an adventure with a sense of humor, strong characters, and.
So did Rooster Teeth do the cinematics in that trailer? Or?
Yeah, just like the animated trailer in the beginning.
Yeah, with the sloths like
everything else is-
putting their sword in there, the chicken on the guy's head, and
Yeah, I mean, they did an awesome job. Those guys are amazing. Their animation department's really, really cool.
But that's also cool that they would actually do that
yeah,
for you all instead of, you know, there's a lot of publishers out there who would just go, we need some cool, you know, animations in the midst of this. Go do it and you know, pay for it yourself. And so the fact that they didn't was that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we just, I mean, we wouldn't have had the resources to do it. I mean, we were all working on it as like a night gig, except for me, who I guess to wrap up the story. I was unemployed for a bit, about 6 months, and really just on my last dime when I had a job interview in Austin. It was the first job interview I've had in a while, and it's for a company called Max Play, who aren't around anymore. But they hired me, they brought me down, and that was enough for me to kind of get started here, where I was immediately surrounded by like one of the biggest indie dev scenes in the world. Completely unaware of it. People are like, you gotta go to this meetup. I'm like, okay. And so I go, and it's this thing called Wigas Rancheros, and there's like 150 people in this bar. And I like looked at my right, and there's like Phil Fish, and then I look over, and there's like the guy who made Stanley Parable, and it's just like, what the heck? But at this monthly meetup, like all the indie devs show up at this thing, and you know, I guess like when the game had launched on Humble Bundle, I brought my game out there, and it was the first time the game had been seen in public because we did it was originally a game jam, but for many months it was just I was living in my friend's farmhouse, and we'd have a bunch of people from like the local restaurant in town, and you know, after work they would come blow some steam and get drunk and play our game. And I would bring my game out, and they'd be like, "Oh, like this game's really fun, man. You should put it out." I'm like, "Yeah, I think it's fun too." Like at this point, I'm like unemployed and you know, paying like $300 a month to live in my friend's you know, place. So I'm very, very grateful that she had allowed me to do that.
And it's good, you know, Austin is one of those areas too that there is such a concentration of game industry companies, not just indies, but you know, developers. You got some publishers down there. You're fortunate in the fact that if something does go sideways with the studio, you've got a decent chance of finding something else in Austin versus, you know, okay, well, this is dead. Now I'm going to move to San Francisco. Now I'm going to move to Seattle. Now I'm going to move to Denver. And
yeah, I mean, in North Carolina, it was just like tough luck.
oh yeah. So Philip and I were talking before we went live, because I'm obviously in North Carolina, and I spent 10, 12 years over on the other side of the state where, you know, Raleigh and Chapel Hill and RTP is, and we've got Red Storm, which is now Ubisoft, but then Insomniac's out there now, and Epic's out there now, and you know, everyone assumes that, especially now because Epic's there, and you know, with everything that's blown up around Fortnite, that it's a major area for game, but it's really not. You know, the majority of the companies are really, really small, like something small, like the guys we were just talking about, the Rabbit,
Mighty Rabbit.
Yeah, Mighty Rabbit. There, when I left, they were only like 3 or 4 people.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I think the limited run part of, like, I think a lot of same people run limited run. So I'm not really sure what their company is like now, because it's been like 4 years since I've been there. But there were like maybe like 8, 9 people when I left.
Mm-hmm.
And now they got limited run, which seems to be doing pretty well. So really happy for those guys.
It's just one of those things to think about whenever you're, especially as an up and coming younger developer, you know, when you're looking at taking jobs in, you know, specific cities, you do have to factor in who else is there, because the reality is the company that you're in is probably going to go under at some point in time. That's that, and it's not. I'm not trying to be, cynical like I usually am. That's just the statistics.
No, that's true.
It's one of those things where you've got to constantly be thinking ahead, and it's like, and that hurts, studios here, but the industry is what the industry is. So, it's hard to argue it.
There's really so many more developers in Austin too. So if someone's trying to break into the industry, like being in a place like Austin, or a place that has tons and tons of game companies, like it's a great place to be. Even just the meetups are way better here, and really like the meetups would be like a few people. The best one's probably like the indie drink up, and it's pretty cool. You can go there, you can meet like Cliffy B and have a beer with him. So that could be kind of fun for developers in the area.
I stopped going to the ones in Raleigh simply because they would have them like at 5 and 5:30 in the afternoon, which is great for people that live in Raleigh, but that stretch of interstate from Chapel Hill to Raleigh to get there at 5, the option was either leave at 3 and get there early, or just don't even try to go until like 7. So
it would go pretty to like 8 or 9 though, right?
Yeah. At that point I was getting getting older, and I had to go. I couldn't hang out that late anymore. So
okay, go on.
Let's go back to, you said you learned a lot of hard lessons in the process of doing Battle Sloths. What were some of the unexpected things, that happened to you that, you can look back on and actually talk about? But, what are some of those things that are most vivid in your mind in terms of, what you learned along the way?
So I think there's something I ended up last year. I started taking improv classes, like improv acting, and in improv you learn how to share the creative space with other people on stage, like on the fly. And in that process, I kind of learned how at some points in development, I would shoot down ideas, and then I realized that it creates a situation where people don't have creative agency, and then they're not excited to work. They're not as excited to work on the project anymore. And so, if I could go back and do things differently, I'd want to just make sure I always kept an open mind. And I usually was pretty good about that. Sometimes I'd be like, I kind of had the muscle in on some stuff. But there were times where like I wish I had been a bit more open to ideas and wasn't trying to control everything. Because when you try to do that, then you're trying to make the game by yourself. So I'm way better about that now. But it's the stuff I learned in the process, and I think improv is a great tool for people to take if they're going to try and like lead a team. But also, like, I guess in the same token, there were cases where I did try to like let things just go where they're gonna go, and then ended up adding on like 3 months to production. It's like, and I would have to put my foot down and be like, okay, like last time you guys tried to design a feature without me, the programmer, and then it became like a 3-month ordeal. This next time, I am in the room, and we're gonna figure this out. And then it ended up being like a 2-week thing instead. So
that brings up an interesting thing. How did you all handle, the creative side of the industry? Was it more, and I know you just said, you weren't the best at sharing the creative space, but, how was it handled well, and how was it not? I mean, was it better when everybody got together, or was it better when you said, okay, thanks for sharing your idea, but that sucks, and you move on?
No, actually, like, I guess, like, in retrospect, actually was pretty good about doing that, sharing the space, because, like, we'd be like, okay, we need to make we need to add 4 biomes to the game. What do we want to do? And we would just open the floor up, because, like, while I'd have ideas and stuff, most of the environmental stuff came from other people. Like in the desert level, we have the quicksand, and then like ice, we have the snowballs. Like, oh, these weren't my ideas. But like the wind, and And then in Rad World, we had like the light cycles. Like none of those were my ideas, but that frustrated me to not be involved in those conversations because like a lot of the team was in North Carolina, and I'm in Austin, and so it just felt like I was just being a workhorse, being loaded up with all this stuff. Um, and like the thing that I've always had trouble with is there's this thing called the Mega Sloth, and it's this like tank that you can ride. And it warps in from this. We have this temple level, and you collect these like 4 pieces of this magic device, and it connects, and it warps in this like Mega Sloth thing, and it shoots like lasers out of its eyes. And then they're like, oh, 2 sloths can ride it now, and they ride on each shoulder, and each sloth can control an eye. And I'm just like, this is why. Yeah, it took so much time, and we had to cut it from online because it was just like too much of a. It was just too much stuff. And so I kind of put my foot down for the next level that we did, and I was like, "We're designing this together because this went completely out of control." And then we did the mine levels, and we just had like a river in the middle that would like wash people away, and it was like really easy to do.
So when it came time to, so how long did it take all told to put the game together?
I mean, we're still working on it. So,
all right, how long did it take to get it released?
Okay, so the first version of it, the Humble Bundle, from like the game jam to Humble, was like a year, and then from Humble Bundle to launching on Steam was about another year, and then yeah, we really wait no, I'm losing track because I know we've been working on it for like 3 years now. So right now we're trying to add a big single player feature to it, and then get it on console. So it's been kind of a lot of the work we've been doing right now. Because we've gotten millions of views in this game, and like we're all over YouTube, and everyone keeps saying they want it on console, and it's been a lot of work trying to get that done. But we do believe that, our little award-winning indie game will do well on a platform that is more conducive to having multiple players.
So are you gonna do couch co-op or just internet co-op? Or multiplayer?
It's very likely that internet features will be cut from the console version because, in essence, our game is best as a local multiplayer game, and we tried to make the online work, but now it's like it hurts us sometimes because streamers will fire up the game and be like, okay, we're gonna play online. Then they don't dig the online, and also there's no one matchmaking with them. So it's like we kind of want to force the most ideal experience, but also we're just down to an extremely small team now too.
And that's a extremely tough position to be in, because you obviously want to have that aspect of the game, talking about the internet, multiplayer, you want to have that in there, but then if you go and launch and you don't get the the sales, and there's not people actually playing it, then it turns around and it bites you in the ass. And
then you have to have the whole thing where you have to program bots just to have the servers.
We had bots in there already, but really just the fact of the matter is that there's no such thing as a free lunch in software development. Like adding online made the game just way more complex, and like even though we don't really plan on having it in the console version, like we still have to deal with all that code. Like we did like a pretty good. I believe that this game could be great online, but we just don't have the resources for it, or like really the expertise. We had a contractor work with us on the online version, and when the money wasn't rolling in, it was kind of
it's hard to pay contractors.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we do, like as far as like small indie games go on Steam, we have like a lot of visibility and stuff, but we don't really like have huge sales it really just like it seems like you need to be on console where people play, local multiplayer games all the time.
So
Or more
yeah,
often.
and that was my next question. You said earlier this week when we were talking that you've got the console versions coming up, and you think that it's a much better fit, for a console game. Is that just because of the couch multiplayer, or are there other aspects of the game that or are tweaking to fit to make that experience better?
Well, we are making a big single player mode. That's honestly been like most of my year working on the game has been working on this new single player mode. That's kind of a bit like Geometry Wars, kind of like Robotron style game where you're a battle slop and you're fighting these robots that are trying to steal your pizza. So we've made like about 9 new AI for it, and right now we're just trying to wrap that up, and then after that we have to start doing like certification.
Is that going to make the game more like more Binding of Isaac ish, or?
That would be really cool. I don't know if it's gonna be quite as detailed as that, but if the game starts doing well, we'll be able to be more confident in investing more time and resources into making more fleshed out experiences, or maybe move on to a sequel or something new.
Now, are you going to self-publish on the consoles, or are you going to you're going to go and look for a publisher again?
We're planning on self-publishing on console, which I don't really know how well that's gonna work. We'll see. Like when we came out on Humble Bundle, we had commissioned all these rap songs and stuff, and we were just like, no one's gonna play our dumb game, and so we had this like rap song called "Middle Claws Up," and it had the lyrics like, "If you're a three-toed slop and you don't give a fuck, put your middle claw up in the air." And like there's like swearing in it, and there's like these slops are like smoking weed and like getting into fights with the cops, and we were working for these rappers, and these rappers would write back and be like, they're like, so what are the relationships like with the cops? Like, would they get along with the cops? Are these like nice slops? And we were just like, just do whatever you want. I guess like kind of working in AAA at Ubisoft for a while, there's this we weren't very concerned about being like family friendly or mass market or anything like that. So we just kind of we were making a game that we thought was fun, and we were making songs that we thought were cool, working with artists that we really like, and that was kind of really just a way for us to kind of express ourselves, really.
So let's talk about the music side, because you did go out and it's not like you had just somebody come in and do some music and background and sounds for it. Walk us through the process that you all went through internally to identify the artists that you want to work with, and then reach out to them, and how all that came together for the game.
So for the in-game composition, there's a pretty famous American video game composer that lives in Raleigh by the name of Jason Graves, who I'm sure you might be familiar with. And I met him at a meetup, and he seemed to like me quite a bit because I was just asking him about the synthesizers he used on some of the soundtracks I've heard. So I was like, "It's an analog synthesizer, isn't it?" And he was like, nodding, like, "Yeah, it is an analog synthesizer." I think he was impressed that I was able to pick up on some of that stuff. And so when we had gotten some of the money for Humble Bundle, we had reached out to him and said, "Hey, you want to do some songs for Battle Slops?" And so it was a very like we had like a meeting, and then he just cranked out a bunch of songs in like a week. It was pretty crazy, actually. So he did a bunch of those, and then about a year after that, we had a friend named Mike Runyon who was he was a college student, and he's like, I want to work on your game. And we were just like, we had no budget, so we're just kind of like, oh well, we got music already. And then he just started sending us songs for our different levels, and they were amazing. So we decided to work with him for a lot of the in-game composition stuff. So we got a few tracks from Jason Graves, and then a lot of the score is Mike Runyon had done a bunch of it too. He's pretty great. So then we had the marketing songs, basically the rap songs. That was a bit serendipitous actually. So I was living in that farmhouse in North Carolina, and Randy had told me to come out to this game dev meetup all the way out in Raleigh, which at that point would take about an hour for me to drive to. So I would go all the way out there, and I met this guy named Michael Kill, who is this. He does IT. His name was spelled Michael Mikal, Khill, and I'm just like looking at this guy. I was like, Randy said, "That's my friend Michael," and we're kind of talking for a bit. And he's like, "I do IT and I rap." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's got these he's got these red glasses and like just like a button-up shirt, and, like pens in his pocket, sort of thing. And then later when I got home that night, I messaged Randy. I was like, can you send me your friend's Bandcamp? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I go check it out. And not only does this guy rap, but he made like 10 records. And I started listening to him. I was like, this guy's amazing. And I joked with Randy that we should have a rap song for Battle Slots. And he's like, yeah, we should. And not only that, like, he'll get a bunch of his friends on. And all of a sudden, we're just we're kind of like integrated into the nerdcore scene because Michael Kill had gotten Mega Ran, we got Adam Warrock. It was maybe one of Adam's last songs that he had done actually. Jesse Dangerously, and then we got Chesty and Sulfur, who is also from North Carolina. And I was very demanding. It's like I wanted like a 9-minute song because I was listening to all these like posse cuts where it was just like these like 10-minute rap songs with like 20 people, and I was like, I want something crazy like that. Because we're just like, if we're gonna do a rap song, let's just like make something that no one's ever heard before. Just like do stuff that game developers don't do. And so even by rap standards, getting 6 people onto a track is a lot. By nerdcore standards, I don't think it's ever even happened. So we had done that song and it went over really well, and the people in the nerdcore scene really treat us like rock stars. They'll let us come hang out backstage and stuff, and we end up building pretty close relationships with them. They'll bring us up on stage to like hype with them, and they'll come crash on our couch when they come on tour, and it's been a really nice relationship. Some of them taught me how to pick locks.
That's always handy.
So Sulfur taught me how to pick locks, and then David, who also known as Dual Core in Austin, he worked on another song that we did. He taught me how to like break out of handcuffs and stuff. So it was like kind of like a bad boy element to nerdcore, which I was completely unaware of until I started meeting these people.
Here, this is how you make crack.
I know how to do that. I'm not really sure. But let's see. So that was Middle Claws Up, and I'm kind of proud that I had written the hook. And when we started up, I would just kind of Skype with Michael, and I was like, look, I'm going to write down all my dumb ideas into this Google Doc, and then you can take it or leave it. I don't care. Just writing down everything. And one of the parts of the Google Doc said, if you're a 3-toed sloth and you don't give a fuck, put your middle claw up in air. And so Michael was not showing me anything. He would show me like a beat, and I would say yes or no. He had like some acoustic sounding ones. So I was like, that's not quite fun enough. And then he shows me one beat, and I was like, I like that one. And he's like, I need the rap over it, so I'm going to freestyle. And so he's asking me like, yes, and I kind of stopped him. I said, "You're gonna freestyle it?" He's like, "Yes." I said, "Okay, well, I need to prime it. I need to pick the topic." He's like, "Okay, what do you want me to freestyle about?" And so I pick up this whatever is nearby on my desk. I pick up this box of Altoids. It's like, I want you to rap about these mints here. And so the first version of the Battle Slav song has Michael rapping about Altoids.
That's
and
funny.
Then it goes into the chorus. When I first heard the chorus, I lost my mind because he had put in, "If you're a three-toed sloth, you don't give a fuck. Put your middle claw up in the air." I was like, I was like on the floor laughing. I couldn't believe that they decided to use my the hook that I had written in the Google Doc. And it was Mike was just like, "Nah, man, that's perfect. You can't do anything better than that."
It's
It is a good
amazing
hook.
the randomness that comes along with doing indie dev, because it's not, you don't have all this time and all this budget to go and plan all this stuff out. And so, it's like you said, going back to your improv classes, it's the ability to almost randomly bring these facets from everything else into your game to get it out there. So, that's fantastic. So are you having to take some of that content out for the console launch, or is it all going to be in there?
I think it's gonna stay in. We got some new songs on the way too. Like when we did the launch on Steam, we had another one called "Protect Your Neck" that had Michael and Sulfur again, and then I also had Tribe One and Dual Core, and so in the process of that, I was also meeting these other nerdcore artists, and I met these guys, Crunk Witch, and they're doing our next song, and they've already started performing it live, and I'll drop it in chat unless it's one of those things where you can't. Oh, I gotta log in. All right, I'll pump it into Discord.
Yeah, Indy's in charge of chat. I couldn't tell you.
No, I'm not logged in because it's like my road PC.
Crunk Witch.
So this is them performing it live for the first time, and we were working with Crunk Witch for. Actually, I'm wearing a shirt right now.
Was just gonna post it.
But I was saying like, hey, I like y'all. I think you're really fun. For battle softs or stuff that we're cooking up soon. And he was like, yeah, let's do that. And so for months he was saying he was working on it, and I'd be like, okay, and then they went on tour, and I go see them perform, and they decided to just surprise me with an unveiling of the song right there at the show. So it was very crazy, and they did a great job, and I can't wait to see the rest of it come together, because we're essentially working on a trailer and stuff right now.
That's awesome. It's just, it's amazing hearing. Like, I didn't even know that nerdcore was a scene. I knew that there was a lot of that action around it, and it existed, but I didn't realize it was had that kind of following in general. So so as you're budget limited, you're an indie, you're in a lot of the same situations that a lot of companies are. What lessons are you looking to take from the PC launch and bring to the console launch?
I know one thing is that we've never really paid to go to any convention. So people are like, you going to PAX, you go into stuff like that, and we're like, no. Like, why not? Like, because it costs like $1,500 just to get a table there. So just like, I don't know. We go to places that there's plenty of places that just reach out to us to come set up our game there, and that ends up being a better relationship. Like we've done DreamHack a bunch of times. Every time we've gone, we've won an award there. That's kind of part of the deal, is that they have their showcase, and just by making it into the showcase, you get a laurel. So we're like, okay, great. And then there's thousands of 60,000 people at DreamHack Austin, a free table. We don't really. I don't really like trying to convince people that we're a good game. It's better to just work with people that already like us. We kind of, as a rule of thumb, I don't like to spend money to go to shows or anything like that. Like, we're going to MagFest, and they love us to death there. We get to go for free, and we get their table. We get a table there, and then also, like, the past 2 years, they had this like fake game show called MagFest Versus, and we got to be in that 2 times. So it's like kind of like a fake version of Nick Arcade, where it's like a quiz show with video game challenges. And so as part of that, they invited some of their indie developers that were showing games there to provide builds. So last year, Phil Moore hosted, and it was awesome. And we're coming back to MagFest again in January, and we're gonna have a great time. So just gotta follow the love, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it sounds trite, but you know, you got to do what you can afford. And if people are excited to have you there, you're going to get treated better. You're going to get better visibility. They're going to support you versus, you know, when you're just another name on a list that goes to a show, buys a booth, and sits up. You know, there's more of the, you know, marketing that's and the promotion that's on you at that point. So, what about streamers and influencers? Have you reached out to them a lot?
You know, we just never really had a lot of love. It's really weird just because it's like we would like to be involved with influencers. You know, well, a lot of them want free copies of the game, which we understand. We'll do that. Sometimes I want to be paid. I'm like, I don't know what to do about that. Like, you know, like I'm paying someone to play my game. That means that must mean my game is bad. Part of me wonders, like, we've had like YouTubers and stuff play our game. Those go pretty well. Like, we'll see like a huge spike in not a huge spike. We'll see a small spike in sales when some of these influencers play our game. But yeah, it's like I don't really know how to navigate. I just don't know Twitch and Mixer and all that stuff all that well. So it's kind of we can't tell if it's like just that our game is on PC and this game isn't on the right platform, or if it's like we don't have the right influencers playing our game. It's like we're not on like you would never hear about Battlesofts on any like major game news sites, or we would never be on like IGN or GameSpot or Kotaku or Polygon or whatever. Like, we send builds out to these people, but we just don't have anyone lobbying for us in these worlds. So that makes it complicated because we're like, okay, it's like if you try to talk to the really big YouTubers and influencers and stuff, like these people are being paid to play games at this point. And then if you give or you can give your game out to a bunch of, you know, smaller Twitch streamers, and that's cool too. But they want to play more popular games that people want them to play. So people don't want to watch them play Battlesofts. They don't watch them play Enter the Gungeon or Binding of Isaac or Dead Cells or whatever. Like it's difficult, you know.
So, have you tried things like Keymailer or Woobit?
No, I haven't. Send me that information.
Yeah, that's something I would highly recommend because it does make managing all that stuff a lot easier, and you can find the people that actually want to play the game versus, you know, just sending it out to everybody who's flagged as an indie streamer.
Yeah, we just don't know what we're doing in that department really. Because like our marketing plan was to just make a bunch of dumb songs.
Well, we'll talk after the show because that's something that my real company can actually help you with. So moving forward, you're going to go when? So when is the console launch? When are you planning to get it out there?
I am shooting for March, and we're hoping. We don't have any announcements yet, so we're actually shooting a trailer this weekend, and people are like, "Why are you shooting a trailer for a video game?" It's like, yeah, we have like we're gonna shoot a lot of live action footage, so I'm very excited. I've been like prepping for this for like, I don't know, like 4 months now, and hopefully it ends up being really fun. I hope people will really like it. Because we're
So-
treating.
No, go ahead.
Well, at this point, we're treating it like a short film. Like, we're trying to make this like this trailer and trying to make it really fun and make it really exciting.
So is all of that, are you doing all of that internally, or have you brought in game trailer experts to help
Actually,
with it?
I do have someone that I'm working, and yeah, his name is JJ. Really cool guy. He has offered to help me with the trailer. Although I don't know if we haven't really talked about the public facing part of that relationship. He's very talented, and he runs like a VR company in town. And so I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, I'm trying to shoot like some live action footage. I know you used to make like a bunch of films. Do you still have your gear and all that stuff?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And he was kind of like itching. He was like itching to do it. He's like he hadn't done like a film project in a while, so he was very excited to get involved with it.
And that's awesome, because you still got the gear, and you find somebody who's actually really interested in doing it versus doing it because they get paid to do it. And I mean, I have no doubt in my mind you're going to end up with a better trailer as a result from all of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think honestly, Phil, that's a lot of the stuff that we wanted to go through. I mean, you've got the experience doing these AAA launches, at the same time doing battle slots, and are you able to bring anything from the AAA into battle slots in terms of mindset, or tricks or hacks or anything like that?
I'd say the best thing would be like just our attitude towards playtesting and UI development. Like I did a lot of UI on a lot of these projects, user interface programming, and so we would show the game at conventions. I wouldn't show them the controls. I wouldn't do anything. I would put them in front of the game, and then I would watch, and I would give it like maybe like a minute or so. It depends. If it was really busy, then I would maybe prep them a little bit, but it forced me to make the game explain everything.
Yeah.
Because then I got into a place where like I could just walk away from the game, and we had set up at the Austin Game Dev Showcase, and I didn't know there was awards there, so we just set up the game, and I just started walking around and getting drunk, and then like we got like first place. because I didn't have to prep anyone, and teach anyone how to play the game. I didn't have to teach anyone how to do the UI. It just the game, everything was in there in the game. So we spent a lot of time clearing up all that stuff and making sure that when we saw people struggling with certain parts of the game, that we would put something in the game to help them figure it out. And then eventually we got to the point where people would just immediately understand what they're doing, and then I didn't have to explain anything anymore. So it's helped a lot of like things like South by Southwest, because it's you win by we were in the Gamer's Voice category, so they vote on who wins the categories. So we were in like the video game category in that one, and because we're a party game, we had 4 players, and our matches are like 2 or 3 minutes. I could churn through 4 people in like 5 minutes, and then send those people off to go vote for us, and get another 4 people in. So our churn rate was really like high. By the time I had like gone through 5 people for a group of 4 people, another game might be just now have taught them how to play the game.
It's one of those things that you don't, and I think it's good that you have that experience with the bigger studios, because indie teams don't have the time and the revenue usually to go and put a lot of work into playtesting and UI and that sort of stuff. And so you don't really realize how it can impact until you see some of these other companies, and they spend a lot of time on things like this to make sure that everything is intuitive, and you don't have to handhold everybody through it. And it's a fine line. We see games that come through here that have, I've been playing games for 40 years, and there's ones that start up and it's like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. And then, there's some that come through and I'm just slamming my face into the table going, okay, I got it. Enough tutorial. Let's get through this stuff. And so it's a balancing act that you have to do. And so no, it's good that you got that experience. So we're going to give away 2 copies of the game here.
Yes.
So if you are, if you're out there and you're listening, type, exclamation raffle to get entered. Indy, I mean, do you got any questions coming along? Or anyone else out there got questions for Phillip?
I was just going to say that it seems like it would, what is that game called? Queen Bee, or I think Sloss would be awesome, like on a console, or not a console, but an arcade machine, with 4 positions around it where everyone could fight each other. I think that'd be cool. Badass.
They're talking about Killer Bee.
Killer Bee, that's it, yeah.
Wait, is it Killer Queen?
I don't know, it's something like that. Killer Bee, Killer Queen. Let's see.
It's cool. I know what you're talking about, though. It's a cool game. Yeah, we actually we're like a fast-paced twin-stick shooter, so we're kind of really tethered to the dual analog stuff right now.
So and I'll confess, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Are we talking very much along the lines of like a Smash TV type thing?
Yeah, it's basically like Smash TV meets Towerfall meets Geometry Wars. It was, when we originally did the game jam, the goal was to make something that was a kind of like Samurai Gun meets Hotline Miami meets Geometry Wars. And then we ended up putting Sloths and Pete's in the game. And then it became Battle Sloths.
I love how that can, all blend together. It's like, so what's your elevator pitch? It's like, well, it's like if you took 4 games and shoved them into one, and then we go from there.
It was kind of funny because with the game jam, I had asked my friends to let me be the director, let me be the creative director of this jam team. And, let me lead and let me call the shots. And when we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, they kind of were joking, but they said we want sloths in the game, and then another person's like, and pizza. And I was sweating. So I was oh my god, I had to somehow make a fun game of sloths and pizza in it. And then that's when we made but then we're just okay, well, we designed this twin stick bullet hell party game, and then we're okay, well, let's make them. Let's give them. They're fighting for pizza. Who cares?
That's funny.
We need some sort of goal here, and yeah, we're gonna go with pizza.
Well, the one thing that when I was talking about creative agency, which we had a programmer on the game jam, Ryan, who he was saying I want to put roller skates in a game, and I'm roller skates. I kind of I was okay. Yeah, I mean, go for it, because for me, it was just well, I'm not paying this person. We're all on a game jam team together. He might find something really fun, and so he starts putting it together. And our artist gives it a skateboard, and then eventually they call me over to go check it out. And I'm looking at it, and I was this is really cool, but it doesn't feel like a skateboard. It feels like a hoverboard. And then all of a sudden, the game took place in the future.
And that's how a game design document is born.
Exactly.
Our game design document was a 1-page, and it was pictures of sloths.
This doodles after a lot of beer and
pretty much. Yeah.
And yes, I'm very familiar with that creative process. All right, so we're gonna do the giveaway as soon as I can figure out how many winners to pick, because I still suck at this part of the show.
Flippo, you won. Speak up in chat. Scary Robot Games, you have won.
Jack's 9. All right.
You did 3 giveaways, 3 winners.
Yeah, Yeah, I had 3 codes.
All
so
right.
I did that really well. All right, so Flippo, Scary Robot, and Gax, send me a DM, the indie game business one, not indie. And I will get your code to you.
Whisper to
Phillip,
him.
thank you. Well, yeah. Well, I can only do one thing at a time.
Whisper, DM, Discord, Skype.
There's
Hit
two-
him up on TeamSpeak, and
You're not going to find me on TeamSpeak. That's the thing. But Indy's got a good point. If you've got other questions for Phillip or any of our guests, really, hop on our Discord. We'll put the link in here real quick. You'll find everyone there, including me, and Indy as well. Phillip, thanks for taking an hour out of your day to come and share some of this knowledge with us. Greatly appreciate that, man.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
And Indy, we get anything else coming? Next week, we're going to have Gunnar on, and he's going to be talking game accessibility. And then we've got some more planned shows. I've got interest from a variety of people. I just got to get them actually scheduled. But I do know that's going on. And Monday we'll have our mentor marathon as well. So yeah.
And this show will be in there. And remember, it's going to be December, so the weather outside is frightful. So make sure and have your hot toddies ready.
It's a balmy 45 here today.
It's was it like 100 degrees in Austin?
Yeah, that's the reason. And that's the reason I don't live in Austin.
It is. I don't know, but I'm wearing a t-shirt today, so.
We're all wearing t-shirts and shorts.
Exactly. All righty. That's it. Thank you, Phillip. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd love to come back sometime.
Yeah, stick around until the show ends, and then I call clear.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.